to be back. Hi, I'm Judy Fenari, back from my absence here in the Chronic Rift. Today we're going to give Keith, who is also back, a little bit more room to talk, like he needs it, as we delve into the alternative comic book. What exactly is it? And what makes it different? Do DC and Marvel have anything to worry about? We'll see.
This week's comic in review is John J. Muth's adaptation of the Fritz Lang movie M. M was Lang's first sound movie, and along with Metropolis, his most famous. It starred Peter Lorre, it was Lorre's first big role, and told the story of a child murderer, Lorre, who baffles the police. It is a revolutionary film that deals brilliantly with the theme of the ordinary middle-class person as mass murderer. With Judy and I, to discuss the wide and varied world of alternative comics are, on my left, Calvin Reed, an editor with Publishers Weekly, and who also reviews graphic novels for that magazine. On the other side, we have back once again Felix Rodriguez, the person who designed our logo, one of the people who discussed comic art a while back, and also a freelance artist. And way over there on my right is Joe Pierce, a PhD in biology and a longtime comics fan.
The underground comics sort of developed in the late 60s as a relatively spontaneous movement among a few individuals that were looking for a way of expressing themselves as artists without having to be censored by the publishers that were publishing comics at the time. A lot of this is in reaction to the comic book code, which had been developed in the 50s in response to a fear that comic books were corrupting the youth. There was too much violence, sex, and things like that in it. And in fact, there were even Senate hearings on the matter. And as a result, the comic book code was set up. And a lot of comic book publishers from that time on were very scared about pushing the boat or trying to come up with anything that might be controversial.
Last recent years and influx of Japanese comic books, I think it first started with the Yamato series, the Space Cruiser Yamato, after the animated series ran on TV, and a demand for it came up because there were people who were avid animated fans. So right now the most popular two have been Akira and Nausicaa, and Akira has, I think, this past month been playing in the film forum as the film, and the comic book is a little more different than most American comic books because they deal with more human flaws and human interests. They go with greed and the different interrelationships, how things change with
the kind of material that that artists are trying to deal with. I think what Joe said is pretty much characterizes what's happening today. Basically, very personal narratives. I think that's probably what you would associate mostly with the alternative comics. Comics about really like everyday people, about their problems, also taken to extremes as well. What the 60s underground comics enabled comics artists today to do is to realize that comics didn't necessarily have to be done aimed directly at either adolescent boys or very young children.
There's a comic book that I was shown known as Black Kiss by Howard Chaykin.
Yes.
And it is about a vampire who is trying to stop the release of a pornographic movie that it was in.
It, because it's this vampire is transsexual. Yes.
Transsexual vampire.
Yes.
And I was flipping through it. I found the rampant sexual, I wouldn't even say imagery, I would say right on the page.
There was no imagery in that comic.
Most of the art consisted of very pornographic scenes, and I don't see that as was it some kind of gimmick to sell the story? Because I really didn't think it was much of a story.
There were
pornographic comic books. I don't approve.
The funny thing is, I don't blame you. What Black Kiss was, there were 3 reviews of Black Kiss in the Comics Journal at 3 different times, and I think one of them hit it just right. One written by a guy named Darcy Sullivan, which said that what Black Kiss was the triumph of style over substance by a lot. Howard Chaykin is one of those people who sort of dances on the edge between mainstream and alternative. He will do a superhero. He doesn't care. He said he'd rather just have the money anyway. He said that.
Oh, so he's trying to make money off of it.
It is?
Yep.
All right.
Time flies.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Thanks a lot.
And next
You're
week,
beautiful people.
Peter David will be talking about Peter David.
Appropriately enough.
There you go.